Hey everybody, so I just want to share a victory again of God's grace and mercy, and it may be something that can help you with how you're organizing and setting things up in your business and your computer, etc. So I just want to share this little blip. So here's the short of it. I'm jumping right in. If you can smash that like button, I totally appreciate it. Any comments, questions? I also offer individual private coaching one-on-one through the phone, through Zoom, and Hyland Life Coaching, AHLC. Check me out. I'll put the specs in the description. Okay, so I'm going through my computer and I had an email, and the email was like, what is this? And next thing I know, it's like asking to verify this number or something, and I'm like, what is this? And with the way that things are now with this two-step verification and this and that, I'm thinking, did I just do something or what happened? So I thought it was odd, and I ended up like just screenshotting what it was, saving it to my phone, screenshotting what happened to my laptop, saving that, okay? And so whenever something weird happened, I would just screenshot these things and I'd put them in a tech folder, like I'll get around to it later, because in the moment I was trying to do something else, okay? I was getting ready to get on a client call, or I was getting ready to, go do some, whatever for the business. I was doing production or something. So the point is, sometimes these things, when they happen, I would just screenshot it, like, I don't have time right now this second, but I'll get around to it later, okay? So, bottom line, all these things I kind of just shoved on the desktop and then I put them in a tech folder or something. Okay, so time passes, and I'm gathering some paperwork for a business meeting where I was, going to get a loan. And so there was certain paperwork that I needed to get, and I was looking for all these different things. I'm trying to figure out where I put them. And what I started to discover is that I have not been very organized with how I labeled files, or at least I thought I was. And then I started to look, and I'm like, well, I know I made this folder and I put items in this folder, but this folder is empty. How come this folder is empty? And again, I screenshotted those, weirdness, and I put them in the folder tech, and I just continue to go about whatever the daily activities were that I was focused on for the day, because, I didn't have time in that moment to deal with those things. So here we are, and I'm gathering these papers and some of these folders that should have documents with my legal, information, like my social security number and, business papers and all this stuff. Okay, they should be in this folder, and they're not. And I'm like, how come they're not in this folder? And then I started to see these, I don't know what you call it, but I did a search on my laptop, and I was like, let me look up passwords or something like that. I was using different keywords to figure out, where might I have put these documents in a certain safe place. So I'm using all these keywords to identify, is this the way that I set it up, and how come these files are still not showing up in these designated folders that I put these particular files into these folders. So trying to figure it out, I didn't figure it out. And then again, as I'm gathering these papers to get for this business meeting, I see some of these, the extensions were like PHP and HTML. So some of these things were actually like an active link, and I just clicked on one of them, and it went to like security information, and I was like, what is this, you know? And when I looked at the label for the file name, JS was like put in almost all these file names that were like that. And my fiance's name included those two initials, EJS, okay? And so I'm looking at this like, what is going on? And then I find that all of my passwords and security information is like not in the folders that I put them in, but they were in this different folder that he had moved and put them in. And then I start to see where the breach was. My own fiance, who I was engaged to, was actually stealing my information and then setting up things without me knowing and using my information to do what he did. So needless to say, it's disheartening, okay? And I'm saying to you to be aware, because I don't know how many people have access to your computer. I don't know what kind of relationship you have with your boyfriend or your fiance or your spouse, and what that means in terms of how you share your data and how you have access to their information, your information, and what have you. And all I'm saying is my discovery of all of this led me to understand that things were not as secure as I thought they were. And again, these things happened over a long period of time. I'm sharing a bunch of different little vignettes and snapshots of stories into one summary story, okay? Another thing that I identified was there was a router that I had where my system was set up in like a secured network with a router, and it was like high on top of like a dresser bureau type of a thing in like a room far away. And the point is, it's not something that you saw every day because it was kind of hidden out of sight. But the point is that router was there to protect my information. It was part of my security system. But he unplugged that router so that my things were vulnerable. And when I started to look at there was something in my computer about like data breaches and stuff, and I started to go through all that. And what I'm getting at is I have invested in security measures because of finding all of these breaches, okay? And even though I originally had these security measures in place in my home, in my business, before my fiance ever came onto the picture, I'm letting you know that I did take the original initial security measures to set my business up properly. The problem is, when he found out that it was secure, he figured out how to make it insecure so that he could breach the data, so that he could then have access to my passwords, which then he got access to where my files were kept on my computer by other different files that he unlocked and passwords, because they were like double and triple, secured. And then he read the documents of where I kept my secured cache, and I had it in various places. So the point is, this was a humongous breach to my life, okay? I had cache saved over a lifetime, okay? And he found it because he knocked into my passwords, and he was an IT professional. He had studied that, and he did that for damaging and destroying me, okay? And the point is, like I said before, it's disheartening to find out that the people that you love, the people that you would take a bullet for, are the same people that have gone out of their way to literally destroy you and everything that you built. So I want you to understand, I'm coming from a place of, I had the security measures in place. I was proactive about taking care of myself and my business, personally and professionally. I was dealing with someone that I did not understand his manipulative power. And as a result of his manipulative power, he was able to undo what I had, and he was able to take my private information to his advantage, and he literally took me dry for my entire retirement savings that I had built up over a lifetime. My jewelry, my vintage assets, etc. Many of those things he sold off. There were some that were left behind, but I'm just saying he was very selective in what he did. He knew what he was doing, and I was so busy actually living my life and, you know, handling my own life coaching clients and fitness clients and health clients that I had no idea to the level of what he was doing to me behind my back. And this is why, again, I repeat that process, that the penalty for sin is death. And God declares that, okay? God declares the penalty for sin is death. And when we don't know what someone is doing, you know, behind closed doors, when we don't know, and we just assume that they're great and that they're, you know, they've got our back, even if they are our fiance. The point is that who I thought he was and who he was in real life were two very different people. One was pretending to be a kind person, and the other person was an evil, mischievous, lying, manipulative, you know, addict in active addiction, that all the addict wanted was his next drug, his next whore, and money to be able to finance his drug habit. And unfortunately, I was the victim of that plan of his. So what I'm getting at is, God never promises us that we will not have troubles or that we will not have challenges. And so the whole idea of transition and moving forward and the here and now is that, you know, yes, we are going to have, you know, challenges that, you know, challenge our emotions, challenge our intellect, challenge our physical security, challenge our spiritual walk and faith with God. We are going to have all kinds of challenges and obstacles. And the question is, are we, there's a lot of muck right here, I'm going to go this way. As we make a plan of action to get through the muck, okay, literally, you know, we cannot get stuck like the Pilgrim's Progress story. We cannot get stuck in the muck. You know, the desperation, the depression, the woe is me, you know, poor me. We can't get stuck in that. It doesn't mean that we have not experienced true hardship. It doesn't mean that we have not been victimized. It doesn't mean we haven't been traumatized. It doesn't mean that we haven't had a difficult course of events, because let's face it, an addict in active addiction and a narcissist can do so much destruction, so much destruction. It's incredible the amount of destruction that they can do. But the question is, are we going to sit in that level of depression and, oh my God, and how am I ever going to get out of this, you know, and anxiety? No. When the Spirit of the Lord rests inside of you and says to you, get up, make that phone call, print out those pages, acquire that proof, make a PDF, document this fraud, document this, okay? The point is, I'm following the lead of the Holy Spirit, and I am putting my life back on the map, okay? I have to take action in order to do that, because the actions that were taken against me through my fiance and through his insanity, it's going to take time to repair those broken pockets that he attempted to destroy me with. But here's the bottom line. He may have temporarily destroyed me. He may have temporarily taken away some of my gumption, okay? But the truth is, the Lord has set me back on the path, and the Lord is 100% leading me into victory. Victory over all of these things that were set against me. And one by one, I'm seeing all of these things come back to the light. And I'm seeing the Lord take care of me in so many ways because I have a personal relationship with the Lord. I lean on the Lord, not on my understanding, but on His, because all of those things that Eric did when he was in active addiction and all those things that a narcissist does and says, that you don't see those conversations, okay? God saw them all. And because God saw them all, there's going to be penalty for all of that sin. And in this case, the penalty for sin was death. So, in light of all this communication, technology, security, all that stuff, I'm just saying, people, like, reevaluate your systems. Figure out who you are deeming the authority to be able to have access to those systems. Make sure that you have, backup plans in place. And when you identify a breach, don't stick it in a folder for tech to do sometime later. Like, take action on it immediately and find out why is that showing up on your screen, because there's probably a little, you got to take a deeper dive to understand it, but that means you need to take some time to invest into that problem so that it can have the righteous solution that God wants for you so that you will be protected. So, thanks for checking in with me. Smash that like button. Thanks. Have a good day.